Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today. We're going to talk a little bit about snow-enhanced cold. What exactly is that after our most recent snowstorm? And you know what? We're going to have to deal with yet another snowstorm. This one's coming in for the southern areas. We're talking about areas from Texas over to the Carolinas, and we'll give you the specific latest guidance on that as well. And then finally, we'll take a look at our climate outlook and see if there's any changes there as far as how our January is looking. Is this cold pattern going to continue for us? I'll let you know about that as well. Now, before we get going, first, I want to say thank you to the new subscribers. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so at this time. It'd be an honor and a pleasure to be one of your weather sources here in the YouTube universe. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here is our current snowpack here. I wanted to show you the snow amounts from our most recent storm that just wrapped up yesterday, stretching from Kansas all the way over to Virginia. A very impressive snowpack in here with some very cold air coming in here. So the next couple of mornings, this zone in here is going to see temperatures much colder than, say, on either side where they don't have the snow. And this snowpack, and because it's going to be so cold in this area, I think it's going to have an indirect influence on the snows that are expected to fall further south, that maybe it edges it a little bit further south than what you would see if that snowpack was not there. So I just wanted to make that observation. Now, as we take a look at our satellite imagery, we're quiet here along the East Coast. It's plain old cold, a little bit of light activity up here across portions of Iowa. Some snow's falling back over toward Colorado. We're kind of waiting for this energy here across the Southwest. It's going to inject out. It's going to be forming our low pressure system as we head toward the Gulf of Mexico and bringing the snows across Texas and over toward the Carolinas. Another storm system here coming in today across the Pacific Northwest. Now, as we take a look at our watches and warnings in anticipation of what's coming, here's that winter storm watches up across Arkansas and in toward Texas. And this is going to spread across Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas right through there as we head toward Thursday and into your Friday there. Otherwise, elsewhere, got a little bit of winter weather advisories here across Colorado and into New Mexico right now. A little breezy, windy across the Southwest into California with all that wind advisory stuff going on there. So again, just plain old cold. We have the lake effect snows here going across the Great Lakes. Little snows here in Colorado. A little rain here falling across Southern California there, again with that upper level disturbance back here. We'll check in some of the snow activity. It's hard to see very well on the radar, but we're seeing here around the Colorado Springs area. Shouldn't be too bad. They're used to it out here in Colorado. And again, this will be coming to an end as we go into tomorrow. Now, anticipation of what's coming at us here, I do want to go ahead and take a look at the latest from the Storms Prediction Center here. No severe weather is anticipated at this time. Today is going to be a quiet day, not expecting anything, but we are going to see a few thunderstorms develop here as we go through day 2 and into your day 3. So let's go ahead and pull up your day 2 here going into tomorrow. This is part of that storm system, that one that's going to be bringing in that wintry weather. So the southern portion of this, we'll see a few thunderstorms down here across portions of Texas. This is going into tomorrow. This is day 2 going into your Wednesday. And then as we look at your day 3, that'll progress a little bit further to the east as it starts to get a little more robust with that developing system there going into your Thursday right along mostly Texas there, and just barely touching Louisiana there going into your Thursday. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the heavy rain threat. The only day that's got a problem here is going to be your day 3 going into Thursday. So as those thunderstorms get closer to the coastline, we'll see some brief heavy downpours, some spotty flooding possible along the Texas Gulf Coast and Louisiana going into your Thursday. Now, to go ahead and wrap up the hazards outlook here, again, this is kind of illustrating what's kind of coming at us, and this is going to be updated, I think, to include more areas here across the deep south here, probably later today. But as you can see right now, we're dealing with, we got some snow in there, we got some freezing rain in here, we got some cold temperatures. This is obviously bitterly cold in here, and obviously some heavy rains along the Gulf Coast here with this developing storm system. We're looking at a Gulf low that's going to form, and that track is going to dictate how bad that winter weather is going to be here as we go through the next few days going into this upcoming weekend. By the time we get Saturday, should be all wrapped up by then. So let's go ahead and talk about how this is going to break down. Let's look at the high resolution model. We're going to look at the next 30 hours. Again, pretty quiet across most of the country. Again, we got some snows there across Colorado. We got the system back here into California we're going to watch here. So we're going to go right up to about midnight Wednesday here, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and watch this slowly go on. Again, pretty quiet here for today. All day today looking pretty quiet. And so quiet I had to say it twice. So there you go with a little bit of that lake effect snows going in there. We got some rains coming in here on the west coast as we go into your Tuesday night, going into tonight. Now, as we go in for tomorrow, we'll see how things begin to develop. We're starting to see Again, that energy back here, this is that upper level low energy here that's going to spawn our storm system. You notice we got some snows up here across the areas of Idaho and into Montana. They're still continuing the lake effect snows up there continuing, which have been a real problem here over the last few days. They've been measuring in feet in some locations around those typical hot zones across the Great Lakes. And then as we go through the day, here comes this energy coming down to the south here on your Thursday. Going into Thursday morning. So here we go here. You're seeing that kind of erupting right through there, and then we're starting to see the snow starting to get fired off there across western Texas as we go into, again, this is Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. Just going to wrap it up right there. So that's what it's looking like short term. So it's this system back here they're going to watch very closely. This is the one that's going to cause all the headaches here across areas of the deep south that do not typically see winter type precipitation. Let's look at the jet stream pattern here again. That's what's driving this thing. We got this energy kind of kicking on off. And, you know, what we were following over the last few days, it was a little bit of indecision on the models. Was this going to pinch off an upper level low back here, or is it going to absorb and kick out? And right now it looks like it's going to go ahead, absorb into the jet and kick on out. And that's what's going to fire up this storm system with that cold air that's already in place, and it's going to shift on through. So by the time we get to Saturday, it should be kicking on out of here. So by the time we get to Saturday, it's exiting on out and just dealing with some cold temperatures in its wake. Now, it does appear after this, we got another cold shot coming down next week, and then we maybe toward like the 16th, 17th, maybe you get a little bit of a break from the cold air, just a little bit here as we go toward the 16th, 17th. And notice the main jet stream here is kind of going up here. Here's our subtropical out here, so we might get a little bit of a break, but I think that's going to be temporary because it looks like here on the European, we're going to get another cold shot coming down here. You see it there, boom, a little bit further west. Coming down here, but overall it is going to be quite cold heading toward the 18th and 19th, and that jet begins to shift off toward the east. Here's our polar vortex again, displaced here across the lower Hudson. So we're going to continue this cold streak going right in toward the 20th and the 21st, and that'll continue the cold wave. So it looks like we get a little bit of a break from the cold, slight break for maybe a day or two, and then another cold shot. So this cold January pattern looks like that's going to continue for us here across a big part of the country. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the precipitation. We're going to track this system across the south here as we watch this precipitation kind of move on off toward the east. So we're going to watch it kind of erupt here across Texas and into areas there of Arkansas, and as this low pressure system is going to start to form right down in here. So here's our low starting to form. We're going to have snow, we're going to have freezing rain in here, and this is going to track right across the deep south with the cold air in place. Again, we got that snowpack on the ground. I really think the models tend to underestimate its influence on the surrounding areas as far as the cold depthness is concerned. So we may get surprised more snow. This starts out as snow here across a lot of North Georgia and Alabama here as we go into your Friday here, going into the afternoon. So we're looking at a lot of snow here and mixing with some freezing rain and ice on this. You see it kind of going over some ice, that pink area there around Metro Atlanta, for example, going into the evening hours. And this moves on out and things begin to improve. So looking at a pretty good burst of snow there, and we'll show you the snow totals here in just a second. Now, finishing up the 7-day here as that moves on out, we got another reinforcing shot of some cold air. We'll get some more snows here across the Great Lakes. That's going into your late in the day on your Sunday. You got the snows out here in the Intermountains and High Plains continuing as we got the cold polar vortex up there just kind of spinning around and kind of shooting down these little disturbances down into the continental United States. It drops down and over the Great Lakes here. Again, that means those lake effect snows are going to be blasting once again across the Great Lakes going in toward the 13th and 14th of January here, going for the next 7 days. Now, beyond this is the 7-day outlook. Again, going 7-day out to 15. From this point on, we're talking about kind of a projection at this point. So don't take this as a grain of salt, but this is what we're looking for model tendencies at this point, okay? So as we go in further into time, we got this pretty good cold shot here across the east going into the 15th and 16th. Again, I told you we got that brief moderation coming at us here. So it'll be a little bit milder out here in the west and into the plains, at least briefly, as this cold air begins to pull on out. So we get to moderate the air just a little bit. We get a day break here heading toward the 17th. But then again, as I showed you with that jet stream, this thing's going to really pile on down here once again. And we're going to get another cold shot coming on down as we go toward the 20th and 21st. And boom, here comes another little storm coming across the Great Lakes in the northeast going into the 20th and 21st. And just plain old cold. We got that freezing line way down south here once again over a big part of the country as we head toward the 22nd. So that's what it's currently looking. We get a little bit of a break from the extreme cold, and then another cold shot comes down here as we go deeper into the month. All right, let's go ahead and talk about, everybody wants to talk about the precipitation. Let's go ahead and look at this first. We'll take the next 72 hours and break it off for the next 3 days. We'll be watching this activity pick up across Texas. And of course, that'll be in the form of snow for some of that. And we'll show you the snow totals here in just 1 second. And this will go on and continue all across the south here, with, again, some of that being in the form of winter precipitation. And a lot of this across the north is going to be in the form of snow as well, as I take you out to 240. We go 10 days out on our precipitation outlook here. All right. Now, obviously, you also notice these higher totals here across the Great Lakes. So those Great Lakes zones are going to be measuring it once again in feet on top of the feet of snow they've already got on the ground. Some areas there south of Buffalo, I've seen upwards of 6 to 7 feet of snow already, and they're looking to get some more to throw on top of that. All right, let's talk about the snow. Let's go ahead and break this down here. So we're going to look at the snow totals here, looking at coming up toward this upcoming Thursday into Friday. So here we go, Thursday into Friday. We start erupting some of the snow here across Texas. Doesn't look all that impressive there as we go towards 7 o'clock on Thursday. It's 7 o'clock on Thursday, and then this thing really starts to pick on up. So it looks like it may be just to the east of Dallas. Yesterday it looked like Dallas was going to be in this. Now it looks like they're kind of on the fringe on this, but you see that pink area in there. So we're talking about 6 to 8 inches of snow into that zone. And then as this low begins to pull off toward the east, it looks like we're going to hold it generally higher amounts across Mississippi, but then going across Alabama and Georgia there, looks like generally a 2 to 4 inches, I think, through that zone. And then that kind of moves on off. So we're looking at, that's our southern snowstorm here, going here again from Thursday in through Friday night. So that's what we're looking at right there, and should be done by the time we head into Saturday. Let's go on and take this on out to 240 here. We'll see where the rest of the snow is going to fall here over the next 10 days. And again, we're just going to continue to pile on the snow across the Great Lakes here, some stuff across the Intermountain region, but that's about it. We're going to be a little bit of a dry period here for about 10 days for a lot of the country. And then it looks like it may get a little more active beyond that, that current window right now. So let's go ahead and talk about, I want to talk about this specifically. We're talking about freezing rain. That's another component of this winter storm, especially across the deep south. And so we're talking about areas there across metro Atlanta. So concern about metro Atlanta, some areas across East Alabama, West Georgia might see some icing in here. It shouldn't be too bad, maybe 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, but as long as it stays under 1/2 inch, it shouldn't cause much in the way of problems as far as the precipitation, icing up and knocking power out. It shouldn't be that bad, but it will cause some significant icing. We're gonna have obviously some freezing conditions for days before this arrives. So we could be looking at a very similar situation in Atlanta, where we get the snow again like 2014, because it's going to be so cold before this precipitation gets there. Those roads are going to ice up almost immediately, especially the bridges and overpasses from Texas all the way over into the southeast. So this is a big deal for the South because they're just not used to seeing this kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the latest as far as the temperature anomaly map is concerned. So again, we do going to stay this cold pattern here straight through most of this week. Obviously, we got the cold air. We do get some brief modification here across the high plains. It'll be cold, but not to the standards they normally see across the high plains there heading into this upcoming Friday. But definitely cold across the southeast, and it's staying cold right through the period here going through the weekend. Then as we go to next week, we'll get another cold shot coming down here. You see that kind of rotating around into the Great Lakes going into Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll continue to stay very cold and nippy here across the eastern half of the United States. A little bit milder out here in the west as we head from the 15th into the 16th of January. Remember the 17th, I was saying, we get a little bit of a slight modification here. Look at that. Hey, we got a lot more red on that map heading toward the 17th, but just don't get used to it, because as we're seeing, that's going to come to an end as we got another cold shot coming down here. And as we go further out in time, look here going to the 22nd. A lot of the country looking at below normal temperatures and upwards of 30 degrees below normal here across areas of Montana and into the areas of Dakota. So some quite cold and nippy temperatures expected to return as we head toward the 20th and 21st of January. So let's go ahead and tie this all together. Let's look and see what exactly the Climate Prediction Center is talking about as far as the outlook is concerned. This is lining up pretty well. Got the cold temperatures here across the south, slightly above across the high plains, normal for everybody else. That's again from the 12th through the 16th. And then beyond that, going out from the 14th to the 20th, this seems to line up as well. There's might be a day where it's a slight day or two where it's a slightly modified, where it's not quite as cold, but for the most part, the trend is going to stay cold right through the 20th. So it looks like this cold trend going to January looks to continue for right now. Precipitation-wise, we're just making this point, the 6 to the 10-day window, below normal precipitation here across the east and the west. through the 12th to the 16th. And then beyond that, looks like the pattern changes just enough to where we're kind of a little more seasonable with the rainfall amounts, except for the northeast and a little pocket out here in the west. So again, this storm coming up here for the south, that's going to be the big news story here. Again, areas that don't typically see snow, again, that recent snowstorm could have an indirect impact on just how far south that snow may show up for areas. And of course, the icing is also a concern there, especially across North Georgia. Of course, that's my neighborhood. That's where I'm at. I'll be watching that very closely and religiously as well. Now, if you'd like to continue to receive these kind of detailed updates without all the swagger, kind of give it to you straight. I'm not over the top on stuff like this, but I do want to make sure that you have this critical weather information. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It'll be an honor and privilege to be one of your weather sources. God knows there's enough of us out there in the YouTube universe. It'd be a pleasure to welcome you here on board. All right, that's your update for today. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.